High school is a waste of time.
You know what else is a waste of time? This video that I'm watching, just a huge waste of time. Isn't life just a waste of time? Just live up to the fullest, you know? Who's this guy to tell me what is or isn't a waste of time? So that guy's Onision. Now, I used to do a lot of videos on Onision when I had my other channels, when I was criticizing his handling of his relationships and, of course, dating a 16 or a 17-year-old girl and marrying her in New Mexico. And then telling a bunch of people that he wasn't allowed to be criticized because, I mean, hey, I guess that's what sociopaths do when other people criticize suspect things that they do. And yes, dating young girls, 16, 17-year-old girls, and messing their lives up, that's that's something that should be criticized.
But first, a word from our sponsor, EduBirdie.com. EduBirdie is a site where you can pay someone to do your schoolwork for you. Here are some people who have completed hundreds of works and have 98% success rates. That means you pay them to write an essay for you, and in turn, you get a good grade. To get someone to write your essays for you, you can call this number, or just place your order on the front page itself. EduBirdie.com. Suck it, teachers.
Dude, alright. Hey, parents of children and teenagers of all ages. The Dancing Banana Onision just advocated for plagiarism, just advocated for cheating, just advocated for, oh, don't do things yourself, just have someone smarter do it for you. Now that really got people really far in life. I mean, there's a reason why people write papers. There's a reason why kids do homework in school. Yeah, it's tedious. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. But it's to show that they have responsibility. When they grow up, they're going to have to make deadlines. They're going to have to do presentations. They're going to have to turn things into their bosses. And honest to God, that's what homework teaches kids to do. Okay? It is 100% useless. Not to mention, not to mention, you're advocating for people doing work for other people in order for that person to have personal gain for money. It's still plagiarism. You didn't write it. It's not your personal idea. It's so far against academic integrity. It's one of the worst things you can do. The fact of the matter is, yeah, I think a lot of people have cheated, but I think that when they do cheat and if they do it at a young age, the teacher sits down and they tell them, look, would you rather have a dentist who cheated throughout life and had other people do their work and manipulated the system, or would you rather have the best dentist who was the best in their class, cleaning your mouth and and giving you fillings and finding out cavities? Because I'll tell you something, I'd rather have that dentist that was the best at their job. Oh, thanks, Onision. Really good lesson. Really high moral ground. Good job. Congratulations.
So there's a page called 5 Reasons Why Schools Are the Biggest Scam of Your Childhood. They say schools take up too much of your time, they take away your childhood. This is true. School was just a place where you hung out and you talked to people a lot. You basically learned a lot of social skills by itself that would be useful.
I honestly wonder if Onision even went to school. Sounds like what he's talking about is something you would see on teenage sitcom in the 90s or the early 2000s. I wonder if Onision bases school off of what he saw on Boy Meets World or Saved by the Bell. That's absolutely not what school's about. I mean, there's a portion of school that's about being social, but that's, again, not what it's all about.
Fortunately, you're sitting in a class learning about a bunch of crap that'll never apply to your life.
That wasn't what I had in my experience. Yeah, there were a lot of things that I learned in school that I never used again, and I don't plan on ever using again. But that doesn't mean that I am the only person in school. There were other people who did use the stuff that I didn't really care about. But in every subject, like Spanish, mathematics, science, English, music, art, I happened to learn a lot of that stuff in college when I majored in history. So, yeah, well, I didn't use everything I learned in school. Other people did. You're not the only one in school, Onision, when you go to school. There are other people.
Probably why on many levels it's a waste. Their second point is actually what I just stated.
Still a completely invalid point, because not everyone went to the singular school of Onision, the school where Onision went to, where he was the only student at his school, and all the teachers treated him like shit. Which could be a reason why Onision is such a bad person.
They say schools don't really teach you what you need to know. You know, like how to make money.
Pretty sure I learned that in economics. Also learned that by getting a job.
Duh. You think that would be the first class? How to get into a relationship that's actually healthy for you.
Pretty sure I learned that from my parents. Pretty sure I learned that from some of my friends who are in relationships. Learned that from like my cousins who are older than me. Some of my older friends who were in like healthy relationships. Not really something that's appropriate in school. Movies sometimes taught me that, but not school. Maybe Onision just wants to teach this finding love class so that he can find 16 and 17-year-olds that he can swoop off their feet, take away from their families, and marry. And then convert to horrible, cringy people, and then divorce them and talk crap about them behind their backs afterwards.
That would be useful. A mandatory class on foods that are good for you and foods that are bad for you, and the consequences of what happens when you eat those bad foods. That would literally save lives.
Onision, I think that it's pretty obvious what foods are good for you and what foods are bad for you. We don't really need to fund and scrape out taxpayer money to find teachers to teach that and to teach kids what foods are healthy and what foods aren't, because like your video is, it's a waste of time and money. If you want to know what foods are good for you and what foods aren't good for you and how to be healthy, you can literally go on the internet and look it up. It's not that hard.
Classes on how to not be socially inept. That would be very useful.
That should be a class that Onision would have wanted to take in high school, because nobody likes Onision. At least nobody who is intelligent likes Onision.
This page says schools are made to stifle you as an individual. They exist to turn you into a good, replaceable little worker. I don't even agree with that. They don't necessarily teach you to be a good worker. If they taught you to be a good worker, they would treat you like a worker in your classes by simulating a work environment.
You want to be treated like a worker in school, Onision. Let's talk about awful wages. Let's talk about no health insurance. Let's talk about horrible company policies. Let's talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. Onision. What are you talking about, bro?
But they don't do that.
And thank God they don't.
I also say that schools don't really prepare you for the real world, as a lot of times they're totally separate from the real world. I mean, think about it. The teachers that go to school every single day, that's primarily their life. A lot of them don't get into politics.
Onision, what are you talking about? How do you know that they don't get into politics? I have like 5 or 6 friends on Facebook that happen to be teachers that I had in high school. And all 6 of them, or maybe 5 out of 6 of them, are very active in politics. They might not be part of local government, but they do have political opinions, and they do voice their political opinions on Facebook. You have no idea what you're talking about, bro. The sheer amount of straw manning that you just put out right there is just staggering. You have no idea. It must be really good to make these arguments that you don't have data to back up for. You're an idiot, bro. So dumb.
Many of them don't understand how hard it is to get a job outside teaching.
Yeah, Onision. Onision knows. Onision, it is not easy to get a job in teaching, okay? When you get a teaching job, it's much like getting a job for any other sector of employment. You fill out an application. You have to show your resume. You have to show letters of recommendation. You have to show your credentials. Oh, Onision. Onision. This video is so cringeworthy. And here's why it's cringeworthy. Onision projects how he feels the world works. and the people in the world. But he has no idea how the world works. He has no idea what these people have to go through.
Or even how you would go about that.
I know so many people who before becoming teachers were like accountants, who were athletes, who did so many other things, were business people, were archaeologists, were oceanographers, who were biologists, who were chemists. Onision, it's not that hard to fill out an application. Just because you've never done it doesn't mean that other people haven't done it. Just come out of the blue and believe that people just become teachers because they don't know how to do other stuff.
A lot of times schools will promote being in the military when they don't even understand what it is to be in the military.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they have ROTC programs for. They have ROTC programs in school to have students go into the military later on in life. Now, I don't 100% agree with going to war, but I mean, what? You're someone who knows all about the military? Weren't you, like, dishonorably discharged?
As with many other work fields, if you're going to teach students how to do something, you should probably bring in people who understand how to do what you're teaching them to do in real life.
Are you telling me that teachers don't know what their subject area is because you had a few bad teachers? What, like 20 years ago, Onision? 10 years ago, maybe? I don't know. By the way, whoever taught you how to tie your tie needs to teach you how to tie a double Windsor, because you look ridiculous.
There's that old quote, those who can do, those who can't teach. It doesn't apply to all teachers, but it definitely applies to a lot of them.
If it doesn't apply to all teachers, then why did you represent it in your video? I have a different quote, Onision. Those who can do, and those who did teach, and those who bitch about it, well, that's Onision.
These are people who aren't necessarily capable in the real world, teaching you how to be capable in the real world. It's confusing. And even more confusing is what I just said isn't necessarily accurate in the sense that they're not even necessarily teaching you how to be capable in the real world. Instead, a lot of times they're teaching you about things that aren't necessarily applicable to the real world. And circle around, we're back to wasting your time.
Onision, your message would have seemed a whole lot more valid and understandable if you hadn't advocated for and advertised for cheating at the beginning of your video. You're such a moron. I hope that the video you're making is just like a troll or just a joke. Because if you really feel that way, then you have not only failed yourself, but you've failed your young viewers.
But guess what? If your parents don't send you to school, they risk going to jail.
You know that Onision didn't do his research before making the video because he hasn't obviously heard of homeschooling.
So they're forced to put you in a system that is broken.
No, they're just forced to make sure that their students are educated.
We're all just supposed to smile and nod as they teach you pointless crap. Now, elementary school, a very important place to learn social skills, to learn mathematical equations that are actually relevant to regular human lives, to learn how to spell, to learn cursive. Just kidding, we don't need to know cursive. Why do we still teach that?
I don't know, Onision. Maybe kids might need to learn cursive in order to maybe sign their name when they get older, when they want to sign their name on checks, when they want to sign their name on receipts. I don't know.
Why can't our government have a sit down and ask themselves, what do we really need to be teaching people? We could actually start getting people to go to college by the time they turn 14.
Yo, Onision, when I was 14, I was definitely not ready for college. Especially in a social way. When I was 18, I wasn't even ready for college in a social way. You want 14-year-olds to be drinking with 19, 20-year-olds? You're a real smart guy, Onision.
Yet here we are.
Watching an ignorant, pasty white dude in a studio or a room wrangle on about things he has no idea what he's talking about.
Slowing the growth of our economy.
I think Onision's just saying things because obviously he didn't learn about economics in school. I don't know if he dropped out or wasn't paying attention. But we have been seeing economic growth over the last 8 years. Our economy is going up. The GDP, the gross domestic product, has been rising, Onision.
slowing the growth of our people by bombarding students with irrelevant information. These are the only topics you should make mandatory in school. Taxes. After I graduated high school, I still had no idea how to do them because no teachers talked to me about taxes.
Where were this guy's parents?
Contraceptives. The first step to avoiding people having abortions. Abortions aren't fun for anyone. Nobody wants to have an abortion. And yet a lot of people are afraid of teaching people about contraceptives. It's almost as if you want people to kill babies.
Learn about like condoms and birth control in 9th grade in health class. Onision, you're like 4 years older than me. You're telling me you never took health? You never took any of that? I'm pretty sure it's a national requirement to take some form of health or teaching kids in some way about birth control. I think you're just making that shit up.
Math, but only the things you see in this picture. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Hold up, Onision. There's a rectangle in that picture. Maybe we should also learn about geometry. Thanks, Onision. Appreciate it.
That's it. We don't need geometry, we don't need calculus, we don't need algebra. That's all advanced crap that's specific to very few jobs.
Yeah, I struggled with geometry, but algebra was really easy. Onision, are you telling us that you couldn't even do algebra?
English. If you're in an English-speaking country, you should know it fluently.
Yeah?
You might think here I'm implying that we should do literature. Like we should learn about Edgar Allan Poe and William Shakespeare. No, we should learn basic writing skills. Capitalization, periods, what a verb means, what an adverb means. That would be like one class, right? 1 quarter or 1 semester of that. You're good to go forever.
Onision, you do know that English is a very difficult language to learn. Like, there are so many rules. It's just not like capitalization, punctuation, what a verb is. When would you teach these kids this? 2nd grade, 4th grade, 10th grade? It's not just a 1 semester class. This guy lives in a utopia that doesn't exist. Thank God, by the way.
In fact, I'm convinced that high school only needs to be 1 year long because all the stuff you learn in high school can be condensed into 1 year if we're including only things that are relevant to adult life.
Onision, what about the kids with like learning disabilities? What about the kids that come to this country speaking a different language? What about the kids with autism? Are we just supposed to be like, screw these kids? You know, they need to go to a special school or something like that. Yeah, that's real awesome, Onision. Can't believe you forgot about those types of people.
PE. Cut the program. Not needed. I was perfectly healthy before I went to PE, and I was just as healthy after.
Onision, if that's how you feel about physical education, then the point obviously went completely over your head. PE isn't just to be active during the day. It's also to learn about sports. It's also to learn how to play different sports. So that maybe if you feel like you're good at that sport, you could try out for that sport and have fun with it. It's not just what being active is all about. And again, completely missing the point of school. It's not just for Onision. It's for everybody else.
If fat people want to be fat, that's their business. I shouldn't have to exercise just because they're fat.
Not to mention, I didn't even have to take PE all throughout high school. I think I only took like 1 semester of PE. And it's because I was in the marching band and I took band PE for 3 semesters, I believe, was all I needed. And I didn't have to take it for the whole year unless I was a freshman. So I was only in PE for 1 semester in high school. And that is horrible logic. If people want to be fat, that's not my problem. Well, of course it's not your problem. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have to take PE like they did.
Science, yes, we need to teach this, but only because of religious people.
I know a ton of religious people who are scientists. You don't have to be an atheist or an agnostic to be a scientist.
educating people on their literal reality rather than the reality of people who have more opinions than facts in their brain.
That's funny, Onision. This whole video that you just made is nothing more than an opinionated piece. And actually a very ignorantly opinionated piece. No facts, no data, no research, no none of that.
That would be helpful. Art class, not necessary.
Why? Art class is really fun.
You're either artistic or you're not.
Onision is like the worst parent ever. You're either good at football or you're bad at football. You're either good at soccer or you're bad at soccer. You're either good at debate or bad at debate. You're either good at video making or you're Onision. I mean, he's basically advocating for like a caste system.
I imagine if you're artistically inspired, you're going to discover that reality on your own.
Not necessarily. If you've never molded clay and you've found that you're really good at molding clay, then you won't find that out unless you went to art class.
Like, I designed graphics when I was in school. Nobody told me to do that. In fact, I took a graphic design class and I failed it.
Hold up, let me guess. Because you were better than everyone else, the homework sucked, and the teacher was god-awful.
Because the way they taught it to me was cancerous. I was one of the most advanced kids in that class, and I simply did not turn in my assignments because my assignments were BS.
Maybe you can tell us some examples about how your assignments were BS. Maybe it might allow us to understand where you're coming from, but you don't even provide that, of course.
So what I'm saying is art class doesn't necessarily make people who are going to be great artists someday. Great artists probably tend to make themselves.
Let's be honest, Onision, if you would have done the assignments, you would have gotten a good grade.
And besides, there's an insanely low probability that you'll actually be successful as an artist, so why are we teaching that to a massive percentage of students who are never going to use it?
Greg, aka Onision, killing kids' dreams before they even get to art class. Onision, I don't know about your school, but art was an elective, so you could choose to do art. You could choose to be in art class, just like you could choose to be in shop class, just like you could choose to play an instrument.
We should, however, be teaching people about the economy.
Say it with me, Onision. Economics class.
How to start a business.
Business class.
How to responsibly manage your finances.
Any math class you've ever taken.
And maybe most importantly of all, there's a reason that a lot of people hate going to school. It's because you're not making the material interesting and you're treating your students like robots.
Onision, why don't you go and do something constructive for your life? Go out and teach teachers how to do interesting lessons. Teach kids with your interesting lessons and all of your ideas, right? Why don't you just go out and do something constructive for once instead of sitting down and making your completely unfunny, uninteresting, mind-numbingly mal-researched videos?
School should not be do this work, turn it in, and that decides whether or not you pass the class.
I agree to a standpoint, but at the same time, I explained that it teaches responsibility.
If anything, school should probably be a lot more app-based, as in everyone has an iPad, and everybody actively participates with what the teacher is saying by answering questions on their iPad, so you can know instantly who's getting things right, who's getting things wrong, and focus on the students who aren't getting it live right there when they're still sitting in front of you in the classroom. You could have a screen behind you with all the students' names, and you can immediately focus on that student and say, why didn't you understand this? How can I make you understand this? And of course, nobody will want to get their answers wrong because it'll be right behind them on the board, showing exactly who's not actively paying attention. That is something that could legitimately change the world for the better.
Onision basically just advocates for the future. That's it. You know how much funding is going to go into buying every student an iPad? How do we know that the students aren't going to be on task? And let me tell you something. There are students who literally won't care if they get a problem wrong on a quiz that's being projected to the front of the room. What about the kids who are going to get bullied or made fun of because they had the wrong answer? That's completely ridiculous, Onision. The world of Onision. Thank God we don't live in that world. We'll also have to worry about kids going on YouTube watching Onision just to ruin their minds.
Right now, high school is a waste of time in the sense that it is often incredibly boring, it's not immersive, and the things they're teaching you, often even teachers will admit, are totally pointless. So I think this has all been pretty conclusive.
Conclusive to the point where you didn't say anything that was based off of fact, just merely based off of opinion.
I hope you have a wonderful day. Boop squeeze.
Thank you, Onision, for ruining all of our days. Peace.